Welcome to today's Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're tuning in. Think of this as your personal, highly approachable masterclass, specifically designed to demystify everyday English conversations. Because let's face it, whether you're traveling, working abroad, or just living in an English-speaking environment, the interactions we face every single day can sometimes feel, well, a bit daunting. But today we're going to break those barriers right down. We're going to use real-world scenarios to show you exactly how communication actually happens on the ground, day in and day out. Right off the bat, let's ask the million-dollar question, right? The one every language learner inevitably asks at some point. What is the true secret to everyday English? Let's be real for a second. Speaking a new language or even just polishing up your conversational skills can feel incredibly overwhelming. You might find yourself thinking you need to memorize a dictionary or master some sort of complex linguistic theory just to buy a cup of coffee or catch a bus. But what if I told you the secret is actually way simpler than that? The secret is predictable patterns. That's it. Seriously, navigating daily life successfully doesn't require a master's degree in complex grammar. It simply requires recognizing and mastering a few repeatable conversational frameworks. Once you learn the rhythm of these standard interactions, you can confidently swap out a few words here and there to fit basically any situation. You'll quickly realize that native speakers use the exact same structural blueprints over and over again. Okay, let's dive into this. Our roadmap for today breaks down these wildly different settings into 5 totally manageable buckets of daily life. 1. Socializing and making plans. 2. Navigating around the city. 3. Shopping and transactions. 4. Managing appointments and services. And 5. Mastering your daily routine.
Starting right off with bucket number 1, socializing and making plans. You know, human connection is really the whole foundation of any language. And making those connections effectively relies on a very specific pattern, asking about the other person's background and their interests so you can find some common ground. Take Tom, an Italian art student, and Emma, an Australian English teacher from our source material. After exchanging the standard basic details about where they're from and what they do for a living, Tom uses this exact phrase. Would you like to practice English? It is literally the perfect icebreaker. It effortlessly pivots the conversation from a basic exchange of facts into a fun collaborative activity. But notice how the vibe totally shifts when you go from just meeting someone to actually making a plan. Initially, meeting someone is all about gathering context, right? Using questions like, where are you from, or what do you do? But making a plan shifts the language entirely to locking down logistics. For instance, when John calls Sarah to reschedule their meetup, the pattern changes to things like, what time is better? And how about 3 p.m.? He's confirming the location. The conversation moves from who are you to when and where. All right, moving on to part 2, navigating around the city. So you've got your plans locked in, but now you actually have to know how to get there. And once we're in motion, English becomes brilliantly, almost bluntly simple and direct. If you're lost trying to find a major landmark, say a big white city library, you don't need a flowing, poetic narrative. You just need commands. Go straight for 2 blocks, turn right at the bank, turn left at the traffic light. By following this exact 3-step structural pattern of distance, direction, and landmark, you can flawlessly guide someone, or be guided yourself, through quite literally any street in the world. Of course, sometimes walking just isn't an option. Which brings us to the number 23. In our source scenario, this is the crucial downtown bus number. When you're waiting at a bus stop, the single most important pattern to master is timeline verification. By simply asking, when does it come, our traveler quickly learns that bus 23 arrives every 15 minutes. It's a short, highly effective question that immediately solves a logistical problem. Now, what's really interesting here is that getting on a bus involves its own essential micro-routine. It's a complete survival checklist for public transit. First, you need to know that a ticket costs $2.50 one way. And crucially, you need exact change if you're paying on board. You also have to master the physical, social cues, like raising your hand to signal the driver. Finally, knowing the ride takes 20 minutes across 7 stops gives you total peace of mind. Master this quick checklist and you can ride transit anywhere. Okay, let's jump into section 3, shopping and transactions. Think about it. Whether you're pushing a cart through a crowded grocery store or browsing high-end goods in a tech shop, the conversational patterns of buying things are completely identical. To navigate supermarket aisles successfully, you really only rely on 2 anchor questions: where is and how much is. By asking, where's the bread section, you locate aisle 3.
By asking, how much is one loaf? You find out whole wheat is $3.50. You can repeat this exact same pattern for the low-fat milk in aisle 5 and the dozen eggs on sale for $3.99 right next to it. The product changes, for sure, but the conversational formula never does. And just to prove this pattern works everywhere, let's look at buying electronics. Say we are comparing a popular laptop for $699 versus a cheaper one for $499. When making a bigger purchase like this, you need to know how to ask about the differences. You're going to ask things like, does it have Wi-Fi? Or how long is the battery life? In this specific case, both have a 1-year warranty and a 6-hour battery, but the cheaper one has less memory. Asking, what's the difference, is the magic phrase that unlocks all this critical consumer information.
And no matter what you are buying, almost every single transaction ends with this highly predictable anchor phrase, cash or card. From picking up that $25 white shirt on sale to dropping hundreds on a brand new laptop, this is the universal finish line for commerce in English. Knowing this is coming allows you to have your wallet ready and complete the interaction with total confidence. Moving right along to Section 4, Managing Appointments and Services. Now, when managing appointments and services, the language becomes slightly more formal. You're dealing with professionals and institutions, but thankfully, it remains just as structured and predictable. So the crucial point here is that handling banking or health checkups is really just a matter of identifying and bringing the right prerequisites. If you're heading to the dentist for a checkup, the pattern involves confirming you need your ID and insurance card and that you must arrive 15 minutes early. If you're going to the bank to open a checking account, you need a passport for ID and your initial deposit, in this case, $500 cash. You're always going to be asked for identification and preparation. Speaking of the bank, let's take a quick second to look at what the teacher from our source material was actually setting up: a checking account. It's essentially just a daily bank account, but the conversational pattern here is all about confirming features. The clerk will ask, do you want a debit card, or would you like online banking? Answering yes, please to these simple prompts ensures you get the mailed PIN and the digital access you need to easily manage your money. And notice how we confirm times and statuses across entirely different service industries, whether you're checking into room 304 at the Star Hotel with a city view or sitting down in the dentist chair at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday. It all relies on a super simple question and answer format. At the dentist, they want to know, is this your first visit? At the hotel, you want to know, is my room ready? The context changes, but the structural exchange of status information is totally identical.
And finally, Section 5, Mastering Your Daily Routine.
You know, one of the most common conversational topics in any workplace or social setting is how we talk about the rhythm of our own lives with other people. And this brilliantly illustrates how routines are expressed in English. Take Emily's schedule, for example. It is absolutely packed, yet highly organized. She wakes up at 6:30 a.m., takes the bus at 8 a.m., starts work at 9, goes to the gym at 5 p.m., and finally hits the pillow at 10:30 p.m. Notice the verbs: wake up, take, start, go. By pairing these basic action verbs with a time, you can map out an entire day effortlessly. So how do we actually prompt someone to share their routine? We use this exact routine anchor. What time do you wake up? What time do you leave home? What time do you finish work? If you master this single powerful question, you can unlock conversations about literally anyone's entire day. It shows genuine interest and keeps the conversation flowing so naturally. We've covered a lot of ground today, haven't we? Introductions, navigating transit, buying goods, securing services, and sharing routines. You've seen firsthand the predictable frameworks that make up everyday English. You don't need a massive, overwhelming vocabulary to survive out there. You just need to recognize the patterns we talked about today. So I'm going to leave you with one final provocative question to think about. Armed with these simple blueprints, which conversation will you confidently start today? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I can't wait to explore more fascinating topics with you next time.